Evgeny, it's so great to have you finally on the Defiant podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's been, 5 months in planning?
Yeah, we've been coordinating for a while. Okay, so Evgeny is the co-founder and CEO of Zerion. And Zerion is maybe one of the main places that people go to track their wallet portfolio, use as a wallet. And now you are launching your own layer 2. So we'll definitely get into that. But before we go into that, let's just get a brief overview of Zerion to start.
Sounds great, yeah. I need to decide on how far back we go. But I think the recent history is really about the wallet, and we've been always, we had attempts to become a wallet even before that, but it was always the goal for us, and it finally became true about 2 years ago. We launched basically from portfolio tracker and DeFi aggregator, we finally became a place where you can actually transact and do anything in the space. And so in brief, Zerion is the best wallet for mobile as well as extension for the most active users on chain. So we are doing much better in terms of tracking all of the assets that you have. We're making sure that the transactions that you sign are secure. So we're helping users with transaction simulation, phishing defense, and all of that to make the everyday transacting experience much more pleasant and safe. We're also a very much enjoyable place. So we try to craft the user experience in a way that it's for people who actually spend their time on chain. It's a pleasure, not a pain, to be on chain.
Nice. And tell me a bit about your story. What's your background and what led you to start Zerion?
It's a cool story. It's been a while back. I've been always kind of passionate about computers and the internet. I've done a few, even at high school, starting from high school. I've been doing some products that were, some of them were viral, some bots and stuff like that in mobile applications. So I'm an engineer by background, and recently, years now, decided that the entrepreneurship path is for myself. And I found basically, a group of people who were in the same boat with me. So previously I was always didn't know if I want to pursue a particular career until I've discovered entrepreneurship. And I worked at Google for a bit. I worked with my now co-founder Vadim as an engineer, and that was my formation years. And then later I've started working in crypto. So I think Ethereum was the first the moment where it's kind of all started for myself. I was still at the university at the time, but I got passionate really about the world computer. And you wrote a book about that. So and I actually said that I'm not in that book, but
next one.
Next one, yeah, the better one about the second step of the Ethereum rise. That's how it started for me. I got really into that. So me and my co-founders, we worked in crypto since 2016 already, so proper OG folks. We went through so many cycles now, and and Zerion was evolving a lot over the years as well. So that's the brief story.
And when did you start Zerion?
So Zerion started as the portfolio tracker in 2019. So that's 5 years ago. And before we even worked for 3 more years with the co-founders. It was called a little different in the beginning, but we had many things going on. But green days,
And what led you to create it? What was the main driver behind it?
Yeah, so I think in 2019 there was the market was already going through the whole ICO, hype was dying out, but people got a glimpse of what the future finance could look like, and including ourselves, we were really passionate about tokenization, just having everything on chain. And I think we started looking for, we in some sense envisioned how the early DeFi would look like. So we were witnessing the emergence of MakerDAO at the time, and then Uniswap as well. And we realized that it's going to be impossible for people to track all of their assets themselves. So and that was a good assumption, because people started having hundreds and thousands of tokens. Many of them were very complicated tokens that and previously people just went and put them in spreadsheet, and I think that this together we're okay, this is never going to happen. How can we be building the future of finance if users don't even know where their assets are? And later DeFi protocols were completely out of hand. So like the number of them, like the complexity of DeFi protocols, then we started having all the chains as well. So layering up complexity, and I think that was the right move for us, that we started really building the infrastructure to track all of the positions that people have in the on-chain world. So that's still the core business of Zerion in some sense. Wallet is more of the manifestation of that.
So how are your users mainly interacting with Zerion? Is it, related to what you just said, is it mostly still tracking their portfolios, or are they also just acting on-chain?
So that's been a big transformation over the last 2 years, and a very conscious one. It was in some sense painful, but I think needed for ourselves. We didn't want to stay a place where you just track stuff. So it's more of a like informational type of resource versus actionable service. So transformation to wallet happened, I would say, like completed maybe at the end of last year when we launched the extension, and now we have over three quarters of Zerion users are the ones who have the wallet inside Zerion.
Oh, interesting.
So like there's still a small group of like 25% OG people who don't use the wallet, but it's changing. So now it's like a fully wallet use case, and a lot of users are active as well. So they're transacting on a monthly basis, and
How many monthly active users do you have?
We are currently at about 400,000 active wallets. So that's been growing really well in the last, I guess, a year or so. So we've actually never had, on the Zerion wallet side, we never had like a significant dip in usage. So the retention numbers on the wallet are actually really good. And if you know how to grow the wallet, then users would stay. If they love the product, people actually don't like to change their wallets. And that's a challenge and a blessing in some sense. So if you're able to attract them, so say they're migrating over from MetaMask, they would most likely stick around for long.
Awesome. And how does the wallet or the product in general make money?
We've been experimenting with that a lot during the bear market. So currently there are 3 ways we're making money. The first one is the fees on all kinds of transactions done natively in Zerion. So swap fees, bridging fees, and things like that. Second is the premium sales. So people coming and buying a more enhanced Zerion experience.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a complete experiment, I should say. So it was really hard. There's no infrastructure right now on chain for subscription. So it's all of the solutions that exist are suboptimal in like one way or the other, and I think it's problematic for the space. And we can talk about that a little later with Zero. But that's the second one. And for premium, just to stop here for a moment, people get lower trading fees. They get CSV exports, so they can like get all of the tax reports, set it up, and then they get P&L as well. So for like more sophisticated users who want to track how they're performing on all of the tokens they've bought, like they can leverage that as well. Yeah, so that's the premium, and the last one is the API. And recently it's been actually growing really fast. So the API revenue is basically Zerion's infrastructure, but made for other builders in the space, like other big companies, small companies, leveraging the portfolio data. So if they are interested in showing the Zerion data on their website or like in their app or in their wallet, they can come to our API and fetch that.
Interesting. Okay. So it's a combination of the 3 then? It's fees plus premium subscriptions or premium users plus API.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Can you share how much revenue you're making?
I would prefer not to share.
Okay, sure. It's sensitive. Okay. All right. Now let's get into the layer 2. Like, what are the main features and trade-offs you had to make with it?
So I would actually start a little kind of like to start the conversation about the chain.
Sure.
I wanted to go back a little bit, maybe like a year ago. We started, 9 months ago, we convened with the team members of Zerion, and we started strategizing like what can we do, what like the next big thing that we can do to make the user experience better. And we've always were passionate about, but with Zerion, we've started with the idea that like it's gotta be useful and easy to interact with DeFi protocols, to know where your money is at, and all of that has been at the core of Zerion. And we realized that without us being able to influence the direction of the underlying chain, it's really hard to make any meaningful UX improvements.
Okay.
Because if you're just a wallet, you don't really control much of the user experience stack. You only control the signing flow and the custody flow, which is relatively little because a lot of the interactions actually happens on chain, and the capabilities that dApps can leverage are limited to what the chain provides them, and there is nothing that wallets can do. And it started to change with 4337 a little bit, but for example, the gas market is universal for all the users, and the gas is still like the biggest UX blocker across the board, and it became more and more complicated with the layer 2 emergence. So now you have different tokens as gas, and people have like, you need to bridge every time you're transacting on the new layer 2. So the fragmentation really became a big issue, and even though the cost went down, and that's amazing news, and I think it allowed for more applications to emerge, at the same time, the fact that gas still exists for the end user, I think it's a major blocker of on-chain adoption. So we figured that, and we decided that we want to solve that. And this is the, I guess, the origin of Zero Network, and hence the name. So pretty obvious, I guess. I
mean, two questions. First, like, aren't you able to subsidize gas in other layer 2s as well?
We can. But there are some issues with that. So the first one, there's no elegant solution we can do that, because we would need to actually send money directly to their wallets to subsidize the fees. Because most of the user, account abstraction in its current form is not working. Like the 4337 did not get any traction outside of like separate singled out applications. So most of the users still use EOA wallets because that allows them to have composable experience across all of the different networks. And because of that, like there's no good solution that we would be able to leverage to subsidize the fees for the users. And second part is that this is us subsidizing the actions on networks where we don't have any, upside in some sense. So it's like the cost actually of making these transactions is now with Ethereum blobs is very low. But what the layer 2s charge you is actually much, much higher. So they do take a pretty big margin, which goes directly to Coinbase or to Optimism. Optimism is a better example, but we have like corporate networks, like OPBNB, OKX is working on their own chain. So that essentially just goes directly into their pockets, so us paying them for using the infrastructure. So I think that's like the second part of this equation. I think in the future with 3074, it's going to become more and more seamless on other chains, but we wanted to start on Zero and make Zero actually like the best user experience that we can achieve within by verticalizing with the Zerion experience.
Okay. Just like a bit of a side note with the account abstraction, like why do you think it hasn't taken off so much?
I think there are many reasons for that. I think two that I see, and I'm a big fan, and actually we didn't talk about that, but on Zero, every EOA is an account abstraction wallet.
Okay.
So that's the major upgrade in terms of UX, and this is what allows us to do free transactions, actually. But speaking of like 4337 as a standard, I think the issue was that it's not composable in the same way across all the layer 2, so you need to deploy a contract every time you go to a new layer 2. Someone has to manage that. Someone needs to maintain their state across all of the different layer 2s.
Would this be something that the layer 2s themselves have to do?
No, that would be like the wallet's job to maintain all of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think there were attempts like Avocado Wallet and now the Smart Wallet by Coinbase. It's a great attempt to do that. But it's a big lift on the wallet side to maintain access to, I guess, the same experience as in that you get with EOA. So EOA is very simple. It works the same way for dApps as well. So they can deploy on any chain and they can expect that it's going to work. With 4337, fragments the experience further. And second, you need to make people migrate over. And people never want to do that.
Yeah, okay.
So it's only targeting the new users. But here's another problem with 4337. Most of the account abstracted wallets were asking them to sponsor, like to actually pay upfront for creating this wallet in some sense. So you would need to deposit funds first before this wallet is even deployed. So there are like challenges with the cost versus EOAs are just free. You can create as many, and people don't really care in the beginning about like the wallet and setup. They care about the content that they want to buy, mint, game that they want to play. So yeah, their first experience is, I think, not the end of the story. I think the experience of like overall use and converting them into active users of Web3 is more challenging. And that's why they all stick to centralized exchanges, because that's the main point why they're coming to the space.
CK Verify is revolutionizing how proofs are verified, making Web3 networks faster and more efficient. At its core is a modular system designed to decouple proof verification from execution and settlement layers, offloading the heavy lifting of proof verification to a separate network. CK Verify cuts down the associated cost by over 90%, offering huge savings and a more robust network performance for Web3 networks, and it is live on testnet. Visit their website today to learn more. Okay, so the reason why you're creating your own layer 2, I guess like the main reason, is to improve that UX for users and easily abstract fees and subsidize fees for them.
Yeah, in some sense, yes, and I think that's just the first step in the journey. So we would like to say that we want to make on-chain experience enjoyable and rewarding, and I think not many people have experimented with that to date. So all of the gas model, no one really was doing any innovation in that regard to date. So all of the things, like all of the networks work kind of very similarly. They just copy paste Ethereum's approach, and you getting charged basically the gas fee for any kind of action. But I think it's not directly related to the value that you're creating to the network. Some users create a lot of spam, and that actually increases the cost of operating your network, increases makes the whole experience for end users worse, because you see like a bunch of weird NFTs with promotions coming to your wallet. All of that is like not useful for the network, while some actions are directly benefiting the quality of the network. So I think there's a lot more innovation that we can do in that capacity, while still maintaining the permissionless nature of it. So we're not removing the gas. So if you do want to transact, you're able to transact on Zero. So it's like fully permissionless, while some actions will be able to subsidize, and which we think are benefiting the user experience and the quality of the network. And initially it's going to be us as well, and then we will want to expand that further so others can do similar benefiting actions to the network, so the network can grow together.
What do you mean specifically?
Yeah, so we're any dApp can sponsor transactions, right?
Okay.
So initially for Zerion wallet users, it's going to be us doing all of that job, but we don't want to limit that to just ourselves. So in the future, we want other players to be sponsoring the transactions for the end users, maintaining the continuity of user experience, but not putting all of the cost on just ourselves.
So what would be the reason for other dApps to subsidize users?
Because they would be making money from other ways, and this is how most of the Web2 products work. So if you look at the infrastructure, you don't pay for AWS as a user directly. You pay your subscription fee to Netflix, and Netflix does all of the infrastructure work. And I think this is how it should be. But because of the, a little eroded nature of crypto incentives, we got used to the fact that users are paying the infrastructure costs. dApps are not paying pretty much anything, and they're passing all of and they're getting actually grants primarily from the chains to operate. So there is no incentive for dApps really to build a sustainable business model. And no one is really trying to focus on the actual users. Everyone's okay with having millions of farmers just reap the rewards, distribute them, recycle something again, and get a grant. And so that's, I think, a bit of a dead end. So we got to get out of that somehow. So we've got the users, we'll be able to bring them via the Zerion wallet to the dApps if they can figure out how, and we'll be doing all we can to make content creators and people who deploy in dApps benefit from that the most, and that's the rewarding part of the Zerion network. So we want them to earn, but not from like just, I guess, grants and stuff. So we want them to contribute to the network, bring more activity, bring more users, and get rewarded for that.
Okay. Okay. So for the Zerion wallet to work in this layer 2, will you require dApps to deploy on Zero as well for those transactions to work?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a separate network, so you would need to deploy on Zero as well. We obviously don't need, we're not going to be restricting people just to Zero. So if a dApp exists on another network, that's completely okay. And we expect actually less, we don't need to build most chains approach that as they come in and they say, okay, like here's our ecosystem or like ecosystem is coming. The way we want to approach that is focus on why users are actually coming. So users are not coming after dApps. And that's like how we see the world happening. People don't come after OpenSea. OpenSea is a tool. They're coming after a certain NFT collection that someone told them about. Or they're not going after Zora. They just happen to find a mint that someone shared with them. Or similarly, like the game. So there are certain, and I think that distinction matters. And most of the chains just try to focus on the dApps. Versus we want to focus on the end creators of unique experiences, unique content. And we want to make sure that Zerion helps these users actually get the rewards. And we're going to be building the whole, how do I explain that? It's and obviously a lot of that is like work in progress. So we have the direction, but we want to direct all of the users that are on Zerion to mint stuff that is happening like on Zero network. So more and more users would come in and like more rewards that can be generated by the creators.
Okay, but like for example, if the action your user wants to do is buy a meme coin or something, will you need to have a DEX launch on Zero to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We definitely will need to have the dApps, and we believe that's just going to happen. So every time there's a new layer 2, I mean, we already have a lot of people coming to us and like saying we want to deploy, we want to be first XYZ on Zero, and that's great. So we obviously want to support as many of them, and that's just I kind of feel that this is the steps that happen with every layer 2. So people come, like dApps are able to deploy, smaller teams are able to fork a lot of the stuff and just deploy as well to be the first. So we believe that the dApp ecosystem is going to happen, but the important bit is what is going to be traded on this DEX, is what's going to be like the NFTs that you want to have. Yeah. So that's the crucial bit.
Yeah, for sure.
And that makes actually dApps more useful as well. So if you are the first dApp and everyone is like a first DEX and everyone is creating new meme coins on your DEX now, so you're getting more trading volumes. This is how you actually earn as a dApp.
What do you think about just like the potential friction that having another another layer added to like the user experience?
I think at this point is like there's no additional friction. So there are so many layer 2s. It's already like a very fragmented experience. We care about our users, and I think it's a similar question to like when we were launching a wallet, people were asking like, oh, there's so many wallets. Why do you need another one? And I think with layer 2s, it's the same. So obviously there are a million layer 2s that are not going to make it. We can be honest here. But for us, we believe that it's a long-term project. It's not like it's an important part of the journey. It's an important part of verticalizing the user experience and creating better, actually like being able to create a better experience, and that's why that's all I can say. We just think that people are going to love using it. We're going to be onboarding users to that, and over time, it's going to show the rewards. Okay.
What stage of the launch are you in? I think you're in testnet still. Like, when's mainnet?
And when token, right?
When token, that's the next question.
So the testnet is already live. We have over 250,000 transactions. People are starting to do something there. We're not, I guess, incentivizing or anything. So this is mainly for the infrastructure partners that we have to start deploying stuff and testing out the flows. it's still missing a few components that are new that we want to add before mainnet. So mainnet is currently planned for early fall, let's say that.
Okay.
I don't want to be too specific.
Okay, sure. You mentioned you're not incentivizing users. Are you planning to at some point?
Yeah, we're planning to, as we launch the layer 2, we plan to have more, let's just say loyalty campaign.
Okay.
Yeah.
No points?
It's more focused, like with a focus on the rewards that you're getting along the way. So points are like usually used as a mechanic to distribute airdrop. That's the only like goal of it. We want to approach that slightly differently, but yeah, we'll I guess have more data about that later.
Okay,
as we launch.
Interesting. Right. And then obviously, that should lead to an airdrop at some point, right?
I'm not commenting on tokens.
Okay. Oh, come on. All right. I'll let you off the hook.
Protocol 20 introduces Sorbon, which is Stellar's cutting-edge smart contracts platform. This creates new surface area for innovation and provides new opportunities for developers to build protocols and products that create access to everyday financial services. So it means a gradual increase in transaction capacity and a chance to fine-tune applications. And it's the most transformative upgrade to the Stellar network to date. Woohoo!
What are some of the dApps that you already have lined up that will be kind of the first to launch?
Yeah, so we have a few, so we have Dodo and 1inch, like basically DEXs / infrastructure and that. We've been mainly working on RPC providers like oracles and things like this, like basically infrastructure that enables other people to deploy. We've got questing campaigns like Galaxy Layer 3 as well. And there's on the NFT side, we're working it's not confirmed yet, but we're working on a few minting platforms.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I'd love your stepping away from Zerion specifically. I'd love your thoughts on DeFi more broadly. What are you seeing that's exciting right now?
DeFi is interesting. I think, first of all, we are so DeFi is, we view DeFi at this point slightly differently as we did before. So Zerion, as I said in the beginning, is focused on the most active users. So people who spend their time and transact on chain. And not every DeFi is like that. So a lot of DeFi is yield, and you do something once and you never come back to that. And we see that problematic for ourselves. This is not our focus, because our goal with the wallet is actually support users as users, not as someone who just liquidity providers, and that's it. Because we believe that that function is more of, say, Ledger wallet side or Safe wallet. They focused much more on the people bringing liquidity, investors, and we care more about users. So from that perspective, more trading related applications are interesting to us more than the yield generating ones. But obviously some parts of, I guess, what matters to a lot of people still is staking yield and things like that. So getting yield is a good bonus to have, I think, for many people. And that's one of the things that we're considering and working through as a next step that we'll implement on the Zerion network as well. So I think bringing in native staking yield to the users on Zero is the must have at some point.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think people just don't need to worry about that themselves. I don't expect people, as if you go to the bank, right? You just put in savings account and it works. You don't need to yourself judge what kind of protocol you want to choose, and that's the job of someone else. I guess in terms of what's exciting, the whole restaking conversations are interesting. I think it's a little nascent right now, but I'm excited for the future of that. But outside of that, I don't think that there was too many, I guess, innovations in DeFi that I followed too closely. But I don't know. What do you think? Is there anything? Someone's calling me, one second.
No, I agree that restaking has been the main innovation recently in DeFi, the biggest kind of 0 to 1 moment. And yeah, it's been interesting to see how it basically didn't exist a year ago, and now it's the second biggest sector, or biggest if you count like liquid staking as a part of it.
Liquid staking is great.
So I agree. That's probably the biggest innovation so far in DeFi in the past couple of months, and I guess like real world assets have been growing a lot, and that's really interesting. That's kind of there's a lot of room there to innovate. Like right now, it's been mostly like U.S. Treasury yield tokens, like some secured debt, but yeah, there's a lot of room there, like real estate. I don't know.
I guess a lot of that is like not necessarily DeFi anymore, so it becomes like a mix of
it is a mix.
CeFi but tokenized, and I support that. I think it was inevitable because we're building a better infrastructure for these like all kinds of financial assets to exist and like coexist and compose, and I think it's working. So I think it's just a time question. So how much risk people are willing to take to start investing, like in reallocating or like putting more stuff on chain. So I think the tokenization train is just like starting, and obviously stable coins is a very good example how it's actually getting traction.
Stable coins is definitely the biggest use case.
DeFi, I think. And I'm excited for that. I think what USDC is doing is really smart with like them being able to deploy. They're creating some kind of meta asset, and I think that's really cool, which exists like on any layer 2 and mints
bringing
and birds
it like natively to different chains and even different jurisdictions now. So they're doing it in a like growing in a really smart way, I think.
They just need to start giving more yield back to the...
Yes, I agree. That's the thing with stablecoin issuers. They just keep all the yield to themselves. They're so greedy. But there are some DeFi stablecoin issuers like Ondo, and I think, a couple of others that are passing on yield to users. So that's been...
So I hope that is able to create any kind of competition, but the network effect of stablecoins is very strong. So
it's hard.
I guess that alone does not allow you to beat. Like nothing is able to beat USDT right now. It's
such a strong staying power there, even with all the controversy and everything.
Every time there is like one more country.
Yeah, they always beat it.
Always come out on top.
Okay, and in terms of what you're seeing in your specific space, in the wallet space, like what's interesting? Like what's kind of on the cutting edge?
I think 7702 is very interesting, and that is very much aligned with how we viewed the account model in Zero. So Zero is built on the ZK stack, and as part of the ZK stack, I mentioned that briefly before, so it features native account abstraction. And this is, in some sense, very similar to the 3.4 is
the account abstraction, the AP.
The one that allows you to make any EOA a smart account at the moment of the transaction, similar to 7702. So I think that's the way, and I think that's finally people were able to realize that that's how we actually can bring account abstraction to mass users, and not via making everyone migrate over from EOAs and break all the composability of blockchains. So I'm excited about that, and native account abstraction that we're gonna feature will enable a lot of the, I guess, innovation that is created by account abstraction, but bringing kind of closer to the user. And one of the examples we talked about, for instance, subscriptions. And doing that with EOA is just not possible. But with account abstractions, you can do that. And once we have native account abstraction, it will be it's going to be possible for EOAs too. So recovery is another one. Session keys is another one. There's a lot of conversations happening right now on like how to simplify the signing flow and how to make it like easier for users, not like going to the wallet every time. So that's session keys. Many wallets are now talking about not wallets, users are actually asking about inheritance. So maybe crypto is getting older, I guess,
Interesting.
or like scary. But people are now talking way more. So like at this conference, I've met a few people like telling me, okay, why don't you have any kind of way to, so if something happens, what do we do? So that's I think becoming a reality. Before people just didn't care enough. They were, I guess, temporary maybe in the space, and had people who were the most sophisticated would just go to safe and have these features or have like more security about their assets. But now it's becoming more of the mainstream, and similar to even the transaction simulations and it's like safety features. People before, like I don't think it was expected from a wallet to have these features. It was a responsibility of the user to really know about every scam and like manually look through every smart contract to like, and wallets were kind of detached from that experience. But now I think it's a really crucial feature of any wallet that you cannot launch a wallet and say like, we don't do
any security features.
Yeah, any security features. It's
and what are the main ones? Like you're mentioning like phishing protection. So what does that actually do? It like checks that the contract hasn't been flagged, or like how does it work?
there are multiple layers actually behind that. So first one is just the domain check. So domains are getting compromised. Some new fake domains are being created. So maintaining this list of domains and preventing the user as soon as possible to like show them a huge red screen saying that that's a fake domain is the first one. Second one is simulation of the transaction to understand what's actually going to happen as a result of this transaction. So that's an easy way to detect that your intended action is actually what's going to happen. So if you're trying to swap a token, then you need to see that like, okay, like you're actually getting this token in return in the simulation. And if the only result is you sending money somewhere, it's obviously a red flag.
Right.
And then the last bit is what you mentioned about the security of contracts themselves. So you can look up the code of the contract or like identify that the code potentially is malicious, or it can be reported, and like stop the interactions with specific contracts as well. And then I guess one more thing is addresses that are known to be like rug pull addresses. People who are like doing some social engineering and like faking you to like telling you that you need to send money to this address and something good is going to happen. So flagging malicious or like bad actors is one more thing to add to the security. And that's just the transacting flow. So these like 4 pieces there. And I think like there's obviously custody side of things too. So maintaining like we don't do that yet. So I think that's going to be more and more possible with transition to account abstraction. But helping the user like manage their approvals to different smart contracts. That's like no one can get the money from your account. Like don't having too many authorized applications with access to your wallet.
Okay.
Then recovery, obviously, if you lose the private key, like what's going to happen?
Does all of that? Do you need to have a smart account for all of those features?
Not for all of them.
Okay.
It depends. Yeah, for security like checks, you don't need to.
Okay, so
that's
that
why
can still work
it
with
came
EOS.
first. And it's supported now in Zerion. I think Rabbit does also a really good job in security. MetaMask does some of that. I think. I haven't used that in a while, but they've been improving as well. And I don't know about every wallet, but like in Ethereum, these are, I guess, the more interesting ones.
Okay. And what do you think the role is for wallets in Web3?
It's a great question. We've been spending time discussing like what's the role of the wallet, and I think the conversation, like the question was really, do wallets need to be like who is the smartest one? Is it the user, the wallet, or the dApp? And that's the big question, and I don't know my like complete answer to that. I think we cannot expect all the users to be smart. I think users would want to do more stuff. So even if they're smart, you cannot do like more things and like not fail once. Like you want to increase the velocity, you want to be safe, to feel safe, to do more stuff. So setting that aside, I do feel that there is a lot more room for smarter wallets, and we've seen that with even the security features. I think people love that. People are coming after that because they want to feel good about their wallet. And I think wallets become more kind of like closer to an operating system in a way. So your iPhone protects you from even the apps that you install from the App Store. They are sandboxed. They get access only to specific parts of your like location or camera. They cannot just like arbitrarily do stuff. And that's the role of the operating system, to maintain that like distinction and access controls. And I think with wallets, especially the universal wallets, it's similar. So we want to enable people to do more things, like access permissionlessly all of the things that are available on chain. But we don't want like users to be scammed all the time and like because we cannot grow without that, and we cannot expect users to be continuing to lose keys and like never come back to the space again, and that still happens. And yeah, we need account abstraction for that for sure.
Are you ready to revolutionize how you interact with live content? Introducing PlayFi, where AI meets blockchain to unlock real-time data from live streams, sports, and more. With PlayFi, creators and brands can monetize and engage like never before. Join the future of live content. Visit playfi.ai today and discover how you can power the next era of play. That means like the role of the wallet is to create that balance of like protection and permissionless access?
I think so. Yeah, I think browsers play a similar role in a way, because they execute JavaScript code on any web page that you go to, and they also sandbox it such that like it cannot steal data from your computer. So and they provide capabilities to the dApps to access like users, I don't know, like even camera, for instance, or like similar things. They provide APIs to such that the dApps can actually, and the applications and web pages can actually do their functionality. And that's similar with the wallet. Wallets right now, I think, are not doing a lot of that, but I think in the future they will. And an easy example of that would be, say, portfolio feature. So currently the dApp needs to do all of the portfolio assembling itself. So the dApp needs to know, okay, how much money you have on which chain. All of that is not necessarily needed if the dApp can just request that from the wallet, and if the wallet knows that already. So wallets can essentially be more powerful in this sense. So they can act as a user agent. I think that's even the history behind like user agents. So they're representing the user. They can at request to the user, they can provide more data to the dApp, making the dApp simpler and more powerful as well. So I think that's the future of universal wallets, at least. Embedded wallets, it's different.
What about like a role in like surfacing Web3 opportunities or different Web3 use cases, or like discoverability? Do you think that's part of a wallet's job, or is it?
I think it will depend on the wallet. We are focused on that, so we want to drive more activity. So ideally, we already have recommendations in the Explorer page. So if you swipe on Zerion, you swipe left, it's like social part. You swipe right, and that's Explorer page. So there's like new stuff, new mints for you, and we are planning to improve that further. So allowing users to like quickly find the stuff that would be interesting the most to them. So that's definitely happening, but I don't think that's going to be the case for every wallet. I think for other wallets who care about how much money people have on their wallets, and that becomes more of, I guess, a secondary nice-to-have feature, and they would focus much more on, the TVL and how to, secure the account more, and how to,
there'll be more like investment focus than
more like banks,
discovery, like Web3 games or NFTs or anything like that.
I think wallets would start to specialize, and that's going to be the difference.
Okay, so related to that, like what's the long-term vision for Zerion?
I think I've tried to outline that already, but I'll repeat that. So we want to make on-chain enjoyable and rewarding. for all the participants. And I think currently that's not the case. It kind of was in like the early days for the nerds to like do all the Ethereum transactions and just like have a lot of fun. But I think right now it's becoming like a casino style in some sense. So instead we want to focus on like the use cases that actually people want to have on chain. So the scalability is good enough already, I think. So we have block space. Everyone has block space, but the experience right now is just, let's farm more stuff. But I think with like 0 fees, better user experience, streamlining the flow of onboarding to using the dApp, giving more capabilities to the dApps from the wallet, all of that together will create better, enjoyable time that you can spend on chain. And the second part with rewarding, that's mainly for the dApps really to understand that like they need to work out the business models such that they can thrive and the ecosystems can thrive. And they're just not there to, I guess, like reap the grants.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with your vision for Web3 and kind of with what's missing. Yeah, like making it more fun and also more sustainable, right? For both users to be able to do more on chain than just like play a casino, but also importantly for dApps to actually care about having a business model. I think that's a great point.
And I forgot about creators, obviously. So I've mentioned that previously. So creators, all of them care about actually making money on chain. They don't care about the technology, like the chain that they're launching at. Like all they care about is getting more people, more fans, more users to like mint their content, to buy their like stuff. And I think that's what we should be focusing on. So it's like this people aspect. There are actual people who are creating like even the meme coins. Like that's really fun. It's creating a unique experiences for some people. For someone, it's life-changing money. So I think people have different views on meme coins, and that's kind of closer to casino. But some of them are that's like part of the culture. So we're not opposed to that. I think that's how it should be. And there are people behind all of them. And that's manifestation of culture, and they're making money through that. So I think that's we should care about people loving on chain for that reason. So I don't know, if you're deploying an application to iPhone, you care about like getting access to the distribution of all the iPhones and being able to change, like I guess, someone's life by creating riding a bike. You can now finally build a whole network of Lime bicycles so people can go around the city. So that's exciting. So they can make money, they can make the ecosystem stronger. I think we should care more and more about that.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Okay, and then for those watching who are not using Zerion right now, like how can they start?
It's easy. So it's to go to Zerion.io or just go straight. I guess we didn't look at the subscribers and listeners, but going to App Store and downloading a mobile application and a wallet and extension as well. So that's like the two primary platforms right now. And just enjoying it.
Awesome. Great, Evgeny. Thank you so much for joining me. This was awesome.
Thanks, Camila.